and welcome to episode 29 of the Genre Blender podcast, where we explore what makes stories stick from page to the screen. I'm Kris.
Rian, and today's topic is all about retro gaming. We're going to talk about the rise of retro gaming.
We're going to really age ourselves in this episode.
Probably, as we do in every episode.
Well, look, the audience knows who we are by now.
Yep. And I feel doubly old this time around just because I've just had a birthday.
We've hit a milestone.
We've hit a milestone, so now I do actually feel old, and I'm going to feel older by the end of this one, I'm sure, so that's fine.
Love it.
Roll with it.
Amazing.
But before we get into today's topic, we do have a little bit of an announcement to make just about the format of the show and what our plans are and things like that, just because this one will probably be the last of this format of podcast. So going forward, we will still have the podcast. The podcast isn't going anywhere. We're still going to do it, but it will be different, and we'll talk more about the differences probably next episode when we actually do it. But it will be structured differently, and there'll be some different stuff that we'll be hitting on each month. But in addition to that, we will also be doing some additional videos on our YouTube channel. So for those that do listen to the audio of the podcast, that will now come out each month. And again, it will have that slightly different format, but there will be additional videos that won't be as part of the podcast. So they won't be just on audio only. There'll be just videos on our YouTube channel. So yeah, just letting anyone who listens that way know. But for those that watch the podcast on YouTube anyway, you'll see the videos as normal, but there'll be separate, shorter videos with separate topics as well.
Kind of keen to jump into some of the things that we keep talking about that we're going to do, but we're just like trying to find time to go and do them. So it'll be good to you'll get to see my mug and Ryan's mug a little bit more often with some, I guess, shorter form content. I mean, who are we kidding? We know who we are as people. At least it'll be shorter than an hour. Hopefully.
Some of them. That's the plan anyway. We'll see that actually happens. Cool. But yeah, lots to look forward to.
Well, I feel like because you just had a birthday, I'll give you the Read, Watch, Play update.
Great. which
I've done nothing.
Yeah, same. Like there's not a lot to talk about. I've read and watched almost nothing. I'm reading Exodus, as we talked about last time. So I've not read much more of that. I'm about like 15-20% of the way through.
You're doing better than me. I think I was at like 20 pages last episode, which was a fortnight ago, and now I'm at 60 pages. It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm doing really well.
It's that kind of a book. I feel like at some point you and I will both just kind of like smash it out and get through it.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it, actually. I've gotten to a point now where it's really interesting, and there's suddenly this new character and scenario that's kind of like a gang crime kind of story. So I'm kind of liking that. I like how diverse the story is going to become, I think, which when you first start reading it does not seem like that at all. But I think it's going to be a surprising story, so I'm there for it. But yeah, other than that, nothing else really. I'm watching more Alien Earth, as I keep talking about, because it's the only thing I'm watching at the moment. But yeah, that's it. And then gaming-wise, though, I've done a fair bit of, which is great, because that's the theme of the episode, so hey.
At least one of us has something to talk about, like that's the important thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's... I think I've talked about a couple of these. Some of these are new anyway. So one of the games I'm playing that I have previously finished but didn't get all the endings of, I guess, is a game called The Somnium Files. I think I've mentioned it once or twice. But yeah, there's like branching paths. It's basically like a sci-fi murder mystery visual novel with multiple endings, and you play as... Detective Kaname Date, and he just happens to have this snarky AI companion called Iba that's kind of like a prosthetic eye, but she can morph into different... It's weird. It's a weird game. It's funny. It's quirky as hell. Anyway, so I'm playing that. I'm trying to get all the rest of the paths for that so I can actually like mark it as complete and say, yes, I finished this game. And there's like 3 games in this series now, and there's a new one that's just come out on Switch too, so that's why I'm trying to finish it. Beyond that, I've been playing a little bit of Earthbound. I'll talk more about that when we actually talk about retro gaming, because it is a retro game. It's from 1994.
I remember that one from way back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those games I missed out on as a kid, and I feel like I would have loved it if I played it as a kid, but missed out. So I get to relive, with my second childhood.
One of
This
my
game.
points for today.
Nice. Spoiler alert. So yeah, we'll talk about more about that one in a little bit. And I've also been playing so there's three new games that I bought. I actually bought 3 games in one go on the the Switch 2 eShop. I'm just like bam, 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 purchase. Thank you. One of them is called Trails in the Sky First Chapter, which is a remake of a game that came out all the way back in 2004 on the PSP.
It's beautiful. That game looks stunning.
Glorious. I'm in love with this game. Look, maybe I haven't, I don't know if I'll actually get to finish it this year. We'll see. But if it is something I finish, maybe it'll be Game of the Year. It's looking like that. And
damn, taking out 33.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. I won't call it yet, but it's really good. So
Earthbound looks adorable.
It's the cutest, and it's so funny. It's so whimsy. Yeah. It's
also not my thing, is what you're saying.
I think you would enjoy it to a point, but I don't know. That one's a bit of a question mark. I'm not sure. I think maybe you should watch some gameplay of it, and then I'm curious to know your thoughts on that one.
No, I've just got a thing. I'll just load it up.
That's true. That's true. So I'm playing that one. What else? Oh, so friend of the show, Michael. So he was very nice to gift me some eShop credit for my birthday, and he goes, "Hey, just FYI, there's the game The Tourist is out on Switch 2 today." And I went, "I don't think I know this game." And I don't know how I missed it. Actually, no, I lie. I do know how I missed it because it came out around the time that I just started. I just came out at work and in life in general, and just started taking tea. And I think games at that point in my life were just not a thing I was doing much of. So I think it was just timing. But basically, there's this game called The Tourist, and long story short, it's a very kind of like pixel art style, but in 3D.
It's kind of Minecraft-esque.
Kind of, yeah. It's got that look to it, but it's not first person. It's a third person game, and you play as this little tourist person, little guy, really cute Hawaiian shirt, and you land on this island, and you kind of just discover all of these sort of puzzly things to do. So you can walk into there's a shop there, and you can find these coins that you can collect, and there's these monuments with little puzzles in them and stuff. There's lots of cool things to do, and I'm loving this game. It's so good.
It does sound like it's up your alley.
That also sounds like a game I think you would enjoy as well.
I don't know. You hit a lot of anti-buzzwords for me, mainly puzzles.
It's not. You know me in puzzle games, right? If it's too puzzly, not there for it. This is just the right amount, and it's pretty chill as well. But it's not very. There's goals, there's tasks, so I feel like that would check that.
I do love tasks.
Yeah, you do love working a second job.
Challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I say I don't like puzzles, but I'm still addicted to Grimshire. Spoiler alert, it's the kind of game I've played when I get to my update.
You'll be playing that for the rest of your life at this stage. Loving The Tourist. It's the deluxe version that's out on Switch 2, which looks stunning. And I picked up Hades 2. So that just came out.
It looks sick.
It's so on Switch 2, it's phenomenal. There is a 120 frames per second mode, which I haven't played yet because it's docked only. And I've only played it handheld, and I only played it for a couple of hours on one of the few days off that I've had lately. But it's great, and I'm excited to play it again after
you liked
the
the first one, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I've got the first one. I haven't played it, though.
Yeah, you should.
I'm waiting
for
a
good game.
I'm waiting till I get a handheld, because I feel like it'd be a good handheld.
Pretty much perfect on handheld. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's all that I've been playing. So I've been having some fun with that, and that's it. Nothing else. So, how about you?
Look, mine's pretty short this time around. I've been beta reading a book called The Ashen Viper, which I think I was beta reading the last time. I've got 60 pages of this book to go. It is taking up all of my brain space, not in a bad way. It's just it's a complicated fantasy, so there's a lot of moving elements. I'm really back into writing at the moment, though, because I got my copy edit back from Rach, and I would like to have that back with her by mid-October. So I'm at page 90 of 477. So really, any spare time I get is I'm looking at that manuscript and trying to learn from each stage of editing and each pass. It's all a learning experience. There's some facetious pictures and gifs
So
in
yeah.
in the manuscript, which has been fun to uncover. But I have listened to a book called Boudica's Daughter by Elodie Harper, who is an historical fiction author for me. Like anything new, I already want. This is my third Elodie Harper this year, and I'm now finished what she's got out. So eagerly awaiting the next thing. It follows Selena, who is the daughter of Boudica, who then goes on to sort of have her own life after the events of the fall to Rome, which has been really cool. There is this just a way that Elodie Harper does history with fact, but also with fiction at the same time. And her romantic elements are magical. And I'm not a romance reader, but I'm very like pulled into this story and the coupling that we're following at the moment. And I've got about 8% to go, so I'll probably finish that tomorrow. But I'm loving it. Absolutely loved it. Already impatient for the next Elodie Harper book to come out. And then yes, I've read 40 pages of Exodus, so sick. In 2 weeks. Amazing. And that was like in one sitting as well. I was like, oh, I actually have an hour tonight. So I sat down and read that. And I've just been playing Grimshire. I've watched nothing. I've been playing Grimshire for my first video on Genre Blender as a solo video, which will have gameplay. So trying to find specific points of the game to grab gameplay from. So I've been playing it to get to those points and then getting the screen capture from it, which has been good. Trying to do that without spoiling anything too much it's new. I've never done a gameplay style video before. I tried to once with Stardew Valley. I was going to do it back on the channel, Chris Speaking, whatever it was, before I had a booktube.
Wow.
And that was the last time that I played around with it. So yeah, it's been good. And I still like want to play Grimshire, and I know there's 1,000 other games I could go and play.
It's just like that sometimes.
Yeah, so it's really got me in a chokehold. So I think I just need to write it out until I don't want to do it anymore. I do mention in my script that I'm not opposed to doing a let's play on challenging mode just to see how long I last when the full release comes out. It's still in early access at the moment. But that's it. That's it from me.
Nice. Yeah, I've just finished watching your vlog on your Fictional Escapist channel, which is funny because you're like talking about all the books that I know you've now finished, but you were reading them at the time. Leviathan Wakes and this one that you were just reading.
What did you think about my rant in Leviathan Wakes at the end? Because like you said to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it deserves a proper discussion, but it's funny because I've forgotten a lot of what happens in the very first book, so like I can't really debate you. I don't know what, it's been too long, but I think what you said is valid. Like I feel like like you said, like it's objectively a good book. I feel like it is, but it's not your cup of tea necessarily, but you enjoyed it enough, so that's fair.
I also, and this is going to get, like, subscribers are going to leave, I also hated Firefly as a show.
yeah. That is a point we disagree on.
And I thought it's so overrated. It's so fucking overrated. The acting is shit, the storyline, anyway.
Wow. Stab in the heart.
Like, every sci-fi fan out there is like, get out, just leave. Firefly is perfection.
Yeah, there's another example of a show where the creator is a problematic person. So
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who is it
Who
these
isn't
days?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go too far into the Leviathan Wakes. Look, I said I'd commit to book 3 to see.
Yeah.
And I do think I will give it. I read it too slowly for the pacing that's in the book.
Yeah.
So I think when I pick up the second one, I'll like dedicate a week to the second one and just read it.
Yeah, it's probably wise. I kind of did the same thing with the later books because they do get a little bit slower and a little bit more philosophical and stuff. So I feel like that first book, it was kind of more fast paced, like from what I remember. Yeah. Cool.
Nice. All right. Well,
shall we?
Let's talk about retro gaming.
Uh-oh.
We've got a bunch of notes in the notes app. I'm such a boomer.
This whole episode we're going to age ourselves, so like it's just on theme. It's fine.
Yeah, man, got that out there early. So I guess what is retro gaming? What would you classify it as?
Yeah, look, when you wrote this point down, I was like, I want to have a conversation with you about this because I feel like everyone has their own, I don't know, opinions about it. Like, what is the cutoff point for like what do you call retro, right? I feel like everyone kind of has a different opinion. And the reason I
Depending on the
chuckled,
generation that you're talking
well,
to.
well, sure, right? But the reason I chuckled is because, like, for example, Nintendo has a very specific definition of what they think is retro,
Do they? Okay.
right? Because of like the Nintendo Online, Nintendo Switch Online,
Yeah.
the expansion pass, right? So if you get the expansion pass, you can play up to. They've now just come out with GameCube, like that is now part of their sort of retro games collection.
Interesting.
Everything up to GameCube, and I feel like I kind of agree.
When was the GameCube? That was a short-lived console.
2001.
It was such an underrated console.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I didn't play. I was a PlayStation player at the time, which will get a lot of boos and hisses from certain people. Michael.
This guy. this guy.
I didn't play GameCube, but everyone else
Michael. Wait, is that a point that Michael and I agree on?
I think so.
Amazing.
One of the few.
A few points.
Yeah. So I'm now I get to enjoy all of those GameCube classics that I never played, which is quite great actually. But so what do you consider retro games?
I think, I guess, kind of like what Nintendo's doing is the ballpark or the pin moves as we get older. So I would say anything probably 15 years and older for me would be considered retro. I'm trying to think of how long I've been gaming. Well, I'm 34 now. I think I was gaming when I was 8 to 10.
I can see the cogs turning in your brain right now.
Yeah, because I'm old. Like, I remember I've got a very specific memory of Dad getting the Nintendo, and like we didn't have any money, so my mum had saved up for so long to get him this console. And I think the Nintendo 64 came out in 1996.
I think that's about right.
Around then. But like obviously there were consoles beforehand, like you had your Super Nintendo and whatnot, but I remember very specifically Nintendo 64. This is what I mean, where I think that changes with the generation. So like my father would probably say a different console is retro. But for me, like I grew up on 64, Game Boys, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Micro, Game Boy Color, like all of those. Yeah. And then probably the first Xbox.
Yeah. Which I didn't play.
Yeah. But like if you look at like we'll get into the device that we have, but the one that I have cuts off at I think the PSP.
Yeah, right. Which would make sense because it's we'll talk about it, but like the lower powered consoles that they get to a point they can't run them.
Cannot do it. Anything pixel art looks great. Anything not pixel art, it struggles.
Yeah. Isn't that funny, actually? That's another point I wanted to make, which is like the reason I love the Super Nintendo so much, because those games still look freaking great today, right? But then you go to the 64, the Nintendo 64, and you're just like, ooh.
It's so funny. Some of the graphics of those, you always think of like poor Lara Croft and her triangle chest area.
Iconic.
And it's like, I love when people cosplay like the old Lara Croft games. So good.
Yeah, absolutely. But so other question like to do with this, like what is retro gaming, which is, do you consider like for example, right? So GameCube was 2001, PS3 was about, I think it was 2006, and that's not that big of a jump. It's like a 5.
It's not. But that took a long time. Both Sony and Microsoft took a very long time to develop their latest gen.
So PS3 to me is like not retro gaming, even though it's like it's almost 20 years ago. But if you look at
say that ever again.
I know, it feels so weird, but it's crazy, right? Because like I look at a PS3 game, and I'm thinking like, what was that game with Elliot Page in it? Oh man, what's it called? Like Heavy Rain, and then there was the other one that they made. Okay, I'll put it in the show notes. Those games, like they're still, to me, like it's not like they're new. They're obviously not new games anymore, but they have this, there's this shift that happened between like, PlayStation 2, GameCube era, and then to the PS3 and the Xbox 360.
And Xbox 60, yeah.
There was a huge jump. And to me, like, it will be weird. Let's talk, like, 10 years from now when those games are considered retro. Like, are we going to consider those games retro? They feel too new school, if that makes sense.
This kind of comes into a point that I want to make a little bit later, where I think it is... I mean, I'll get into it later, but our lives are moving too fast for how fast technology is moving as well.
Yeah.
So we can't keep up. So therefore we're like, oh, it's not retro because I've not gotten to experience. But what, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox Series S/X have been out for 3 or 4 years now?
I think it may be even more than that, like 5.
And I feel like I bought the Xbox when we got here. I bought Rachel the PS4. 5? What are we up to?
5, yeah.
5. Right. PS5 is what I meant. When we got here as well, like it was her present for finishing her thesis.
Yeah, right.
I was like, and we were late. We were late to that train.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know they're talking, both companies are now talking about handheld devices as their next console because that's where the market is. And I'm sure we'll speculate on that. We've got speculation time in the notes.
Yep.
But yeah, like I'm sure, you're right. In 10 years' time, and the speed at which people are putting out good content, hopefully not with AI, you cannot keep up. There is no way. There is no way to keep up. So retro, the bar keeps moving.
Yeah, it's weird. It's going to be that weird time when we get like, I don't know.
All millennials without children will retire and be like, now's the time.
Let's go.
We've got the next, 3 to 5 years.
My backlog, let's kill it. But I guess what we can agree is like everything up to like, GameCube and previous. So, all the Game Boys, all of that. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where we'll dive into it in a moment.
Like where graphics got good.
Yeah. But what about like in general, like for retro games, like you've written in the notes here, is there a resurgence for retro games and why is that? So I'm curious where you come at it from, because to me, it's always kind of been a part of my life. But I also have noticed, and we'll talk about it, like the massive amount of like videos advertising, this game's console and that one, and so it's hard not to see that as well, and you can see the rise of that. So what are your thoughts on like this resurgence of retro gaming?
Before I read a couple of articles, which, I did a deep dive into a couple of things. But before I looked at any articles, I was like, I wonder if it is because millennials have grown up with this. And I often think about this for Gen Z. Their version of this is going to be things like social media, whereas we grew up on video games. And that was how we connected to our friends. And whether it's because our generation, now don't fact check me on this or fact check me on this, but at least in my circles, a lot of us are choosing not to have children. So we have more time, and these games remind us of a simpler time when life wasn't moving so fast as it does now with the internet. So there's a huge comfort in being embraced almost back into your childhood and into the things that once brought you comfort that now get to bring you comfort again. And I'm sure we all have huge backlogs. Like gamers across the board all have huge backlogs. We just happen to have more time because we don't have children.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers the question or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people fall into that category, right? And I agree. I think also like, the nostalgia factor is huge, right? Like, I mean, Nintendo is...
They have a whole market for it. And they market it well. Yeah. They
know it too,
And like every direct we watch for... And we've caught the last couple together, really.
Yeah.
Like half of it's re-releases, half of it's remastered.
Yep.
Games that brought people joy.
Yep. No, they're very switched on to that, and a lot of it is like they've created that as well, I think.
They've done a fantastic job.
Yeah. At it. I mean, the Virtual Boy they're bringing back, that's hilarious.
So it's just sidebar tangent. There was so much outrage. Boy.
I know, yeah.
Because it was like a $25, $30 piece of cardboard. I was like, I was like, that's so fun though.
Yep. It's like
I'll never take
Labo
my
all over
money.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the actual, like, if you want the plastic one, it's like $120 or something.
Build your own.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's for me, but like Nintendo, like they do their thing, and people are there for it. But I think also the other reason I wanted to mention this was also because I think gaming handheld devices, just in general, we've reached a point now where they are cheap enough. Like the chip inside is powerful enough to make, and we'll talk about it specifically, but emulation accessible and easy, and like I said, cheap to do. So you can actually have like these mobile chips in these devices that are like anywhere between $50 and $100, and you've got a gaming device that you can play a whole bunch of games on, up to like almost like like you said, PSP quality. So that kind of opens doors for people as well, right? Because it's cheap enough to just play all these older games and make them accessible, and you don't have to play them on a computer, or any other device. So I think that's cool as well.
Because your modern consoles are horrifically expensive. If I'm thinking of families with children who are like, I do want to get my kids this thing because they want it, but I can't afford $700 right now, or $800.
Which is totally fair.
Yeah, 100%. What did that cost me? I don't know, 60.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I got one for like 50 and another, and also like there's also original hardware as well. Like you can pick up like a PSP or a PS Vita and mod that as well, I suppose, and that's also relatively cheap as well. But also retro gaming, if you collect games. So like for a while I was collecting Super Nintendo cartridges, of which I've got a fairly decent collection of ones that I had previously growing up. But those are so expensive now as well, right? So everything's expensive. So anything that can be cheaper and make it accessible, it's going to be.
It's a shame I didn't know you prior to transition, because I got rid of so many Nintendo 64 games.
No, did you really?
Hey, bags and bags of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. They're. I mean, they're easy to find. They're expensive now.
Expensive now, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also put in the note here because nostalgia plays a role, but I put in here shorter stories which are achievable, because you've got and I was like, that is nice. That is nice to feel like you can actually finish a game, because we've got this huge. We live in a world, online gaming, huge. There's no storyline. It is just player versus player. We've got things like Souls games, which are notoriously frustrating, and yes, there is a sense of achievement when you beat those battles, but they're not well, at least to me, they're not enjoyable. It's like hours of frustration and grinding before you get to achieve anything.
Yes.
Whereas back in the old days when we were kids and teenagers and in our early 20s, because we're aged now, you could complete a game within a couple, like you'd have it for a month and you'd complete it and you're like, that's nice, I've completed that, I feel like I've ticked something off, and move on to the next one. I also I put in here the repetitive grindy aspects. Now I'm talking specifically about RPGs, the older RPGs where we hadn't quite learned save points or things like that. So you had to do it in a one shot and it just took forever, and you
always
had to
leave the console on
and grind. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is also a comforting aspect in that as well. Maybe that's why I like the Pixel Farm sort of, I guess, subgenre, because it does have that grindy aspect to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's
the day when I finished games.
Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah. No, I think there's something to be said for that. That's actually a really good point, because I think games, they weren't necessarily easier. Like a lot of games are a lot harder than they are today.
Difficulty settings and stuff. Yeah.
Right. And like, but the mechanics would be simpler. So you'd have more simple mechanics, but still challenging gameplay. And I feel like now we've just, like, a lot of developers will just add complexity. They'll add this system and that system and make it more complex, which is, I mean, like, those games are fine. A lot of RPGs I play, they're getting to that point where there's just all of these systems layered on top of each other. But it is nice to have those sort of simple games, not easy, but simple games that are shorter, or they're like 10 hours instead of like 80 hours for an RPG.
Yeah. And like you could complete them, like anything under 30 hours. Like I can do that, like doable.
Yeah.
I can do it under 30-hour game.
Yes.
You get something like a Skyrim. It's like 100 hours minimum. Witcher 3, 100 hours minimum to be able to get to the end of that game. Like, I don't have 100 hours to give you.
Yeah.
Um, I had a point, I forgot it. It's gone. It'll come back
Yeah.
to me mid whatever we're talking about next.
Yep.
But
The aged.
I also put in here that I think I was reading this article and it's about the biggest collection in Australia. The guy in Melbourne that has really just decked out his, I think it's like a basement, and he dedicates like his collector life to
Oh, is this
retro
retro
gaming.
gamer guy and Emily? They're in
I think
Brisbane,
so.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in that article, it mentions that technology is moving too quickly in a world where the working class, so us, we have full-time jobs. We go, hang on, we didn't get to play that game, but there's already something new out, and I still want to go back and play that. So there's that aspect of the backlog, the never-ending backlog.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know that well. Different person, by the way. I'm not familiar with who this is from the link that'll be in the show notes. His name's Mick, but yeah, I don't know. There's yeah, I've been following there's retro gamer guy and retro gamer girl. Her name's Emily. I don't know her husband's name, but they also have a basement full of just retro games. I think they're based in Brisbane, and theirs is also super impressive. But I'm just looking at this link, and it's just unreal. I would love to have this.
What a hangout zone you've got in the middle. Again, tangent sidebar, and every episode I tell Ryan, don't worry, we'll get this done in like 45 minutes, it'll be fine, and then I just crap on for an hour.
Should know better at this point.
Anyway, that was a tangent on my tangent. Jim just went to China, our housemate, and bought what I would say is about an $8,000 PC setup for I don't know, less than $8,000. I'll say that much. Getting it direct from China. It's now on, and I walked out. It's this souped up 4 terabyte computer. There's lights everywhere. It looks amazing. They're out there playing Wordle. When I left, I was like, I can't believe you spent this much money to go and play Wordle. Anyway, I was like, let's just get rid of the lounge room. Let's just get rid of the couches. Let's put in a game zone. All of us game. We don't need a lounge room. Yeah. What do we do? Watch movies in the theater. Get rid of them.
100%. I think that's a great idea.
Next time you come over, they'll just be like the LAN setup. Remember, like high school with your computer setup all in like a row.
Definitely. Yeah, you don't need the couches. You need space for a VR setup. That'd be perfect.
And some secret labs chairs.
Yeah.
I will just take out a second mortgage.
That's fine.
Fund it. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Well, look, let's get into our devices.
Yeah, let's do it. I have them all laid out in front of me here. There was a moment before we hit record. I was just like, oh shit, I need to uncase them all because they're all hidden.
I'll let you go first because you have more. I've got one.
We'll see. We'll pace ourselves. This all kind of tie into. I do want to talk about this sort of project that I've been working on as well. So it kind of ties into this. So look, any audio listeners, like you might want to watch the video for this one because I do have a few things to show. So funny story. So I'll start off by saying like I kind of went from 0 to 100 in this hobby because
that's so unlike you. Your project.
No, really. Yeah. So I avoided emulation like the plague for so long. And I think it was sort of to tie back into what we were saying about like why it's popular all of a sudden is because these devices are so cheap now. We've reached a point, it's just like critical mass right now. Like there's so many of them. You have so much choice and the communities around them are just going off. Like there's so many people involved. There's custom firmwares being made by people and they're great. So basically I'll show what I've brought for show and tell. I feel like I'm back in school. And then we'll talk more into it. But, so this one is the Miu Mini Plus. Let's see if I can get my camera to focus there. I don't know if it's going to do that too well. But this one, and I bought one for Steph as well. It's smaller than this one. So there's like this one is the Mini Plus, and then there's the Mini, which is even smaller, that came out first. And so all of these this is a Linux device, so it's running Linux, and it's completely for emulation. And I also got this is probably my favorite so far. Oh, good, it has battery. That's my save game for Earthbound. The Miu Flip. Right, so this one kind of looks like a Game Boy Advance SP. Yep, which I never had. And this one's more like the just regular Game Boy style, which is pretty popular and pretty common. But essentially, I wanted like a gaming device I could throw into a bag. That was the goal, right? Like, what can I just literally not have to think about? I don't have to baby it. I don't have to worry about anything. Just like, what can I get to throw into a bag and have with me all the time, or in my pocket or whatever. So that's why I got the Flip, because it is so small. Like, it is tiny, right? And yet it's still pretty comfy. Like, you can hold it, pretty well in your hands, and it's okay. It's not like the most comfortable or anything, but like it's pretty comfy. It's fine, and I've got pretty small, tiny baby hands, but it's pretty fine. So that was that one.
Such a burden of being trans mass.
Yeah.
Super tiny hands.
Some benefits in this case. It's a plus. Yeah. So this one I'm running stock firmware on. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but like I haven't really done much with that one because there's not a lot available for this one. This one, on the other hand, so this Miu Mini Plus, there is custom firmware called Onion OS for this one, and it takes something that's pretty good and makes it amazing, like really good. There's like custom, like there's save states. I've even got all of these syncing between each other, right? So I've got like save games syncing between each console, so it doesn't matter which one I pick up and play. I can just resume my game. Yeah, I've been down rabbit holes, dude. But I would I would recommend this one if anyone's interested. Like, this is a great starter because you can mod it a little bit. It's super simple. It's very easy to do, but it allows you to do a lot with it. And there's like a massive community behind it. So that's that one. And then this one here is the bigger one. It's like its bigger cousin, and this is an Anbernic RG40XXV.
I really love the look of this one.
Yeah, it's nice, right? The difference is the little stick. There's a little joystick, whereas the Miu doesn't have that. The Miu Flip has two, right? So just to go back to this one, you've got the two actual sticks here as well, so you can play, up to like, you can do like Nintendo 64, which is like a single stick, or PlayStation, which the PS1 did have the sticks. So anyway, so you can play those kinds of games. But this one just has a single stick because most of the games that I play, I don't need dual sticks for. Most of these are for SNES and Game Boy games. I'm not going to lie. Like, that's really the purpose here. Yeah.
Yeah, mine was for Super Nintendo.
Yep.
And
they look stunning. Yeah. But this one looks very, very Game Boy-esque, right? It kind of reminds me, the reason I got the blue one is it reminds me of my original blue Game Boy. That's what I had. And then I got the Game Boy Color, which was the purple one, and it kind of, it's this bluey purple. It's kind of indigo blue. So yeah, like the nostalgia factor is huge with these, of course. And then I just wanted to mention as well, I do also recommend the Vita as well for, like, if you're interested in modding and having emulated games to play. That does a great job as well. So, they all have their strengths and benefits, and we're not going to get too much into the technical stuff, of course, but like that is a thing to consider as well if you have one lying around or if you can pick one up for cheap. But yeah, they all have their pros and cons, but that's what I have for handhelds. But I just wanted to also mention, I've also got this thing called the Super NT.
Yeah, I've seen this.
This is different. So this is not emulation. And again, we're not going into the weeds of the technical stuff, but this is what they call FPGA. It's basically hardware replica of this one's the Super Nintendo. So it's more accurate. It's, kind of like the original hardware, and it can play cartridges. So you can actually put cartridges in the slot here as well. That was my intention when I got it, and then they got really expensive and I stopped buying them. But that one is fantastic. And it plays ROMs as well, of course. But yeah, the controller ports, like, they're actually the original controllers, so you can actually put the original controllers in there too.
When you would, like, they told you not to blow into it, but you're like, I gotta get the dust out of there somehow, and you just
That's how you did it, yeah.
You harmonica'd straight into it.
Yep. So yeah, all have their advantages, pros and cons. But look, if you're getting into it at all, I recommend the Miu Mini Plus. I think that's probably the best, easiest, most accessible of all of them. So yeah, it's been a fun rabbit hole.
Speaking of easy and accessible, Ryan recommended me one because of my limited technology. I do want to get the blue one that you have though, but I have no idea how to set it up. But it just looks so sexy. I just want one.
Yeah.
I have, what have I got? The R36.
36S.
Yeah,
I think.
36S.
I was
I'd
yeah
say 36, yeah.
yeah
And so this is the one that I actually get advertised the most. I don't know how I'm
yeah.
trying to load it up. I don't know what the battery's like, so I haven't turned it on in 2 weeks. I'm like, look, there's limitations with these devices, right? They're cheap. They're cheap for a reason. They're not like the best built things on the planet. I do find that my hand gets fatigued with the joysticks, though, because of how small the device is. But because I'm playing like Pokemon games, and the only things that I really want to play are the Pokemon games, I generally just stick with this. But trying to run through like just how many, you can't really see it. Um, it's the same as what you see advertised on Instagram. It
Yep,
is. It's
literally
got
exactly the same. Yeah.
everything on there. But I've had a good time with it. I think, like I'm playing Pokemon Red at the moment. I'm a little bit cautious just because it is cheap, and the game cartridges can sometimes fry themselves. Of just playing one game that I want to play at a time. So I'm
Yeah.
doing Fire Red at the moment, and then I have also been playing like Pokemon Puzzle League, not because it's Pokemon, just I really like the puzzle game, and I was like, oh, I wonder if it's on there. It was on there, so I play
Nice.
that sometimes when I'm trying to go to bed and I can't sleep. But yeah, like it's that's the only one that I've got, and I'm so glad that I got it because
Yeah.
it's. I also have a horrific backlog of games that I wanted to play as a kid, and because it's sturdy, you can chuck it in your
Yeah.
bag. Like
You don't
it's
have to
not
think
going to
about
do
it,
anything. You
right?
don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
They did make tech quite sturdy back in the day. It was
Yeah.
like because I guess they were advertised for kids, and now we're all adults and we want the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, been having a blast with it, and I've played little bits and pieces of other things because I grew up with my mum and dad's Super Nintendo, so like Toe Jam and Earl, the original one.
Nice.
That was the first thing I
Classic.
looked for. I was like, amazing. What a great game. They did
Yeah.
have one on the Xbox, which is pretty good too, but we're not there yet. But that being said, like, there are heaps. There are heaps out there, and they are up to some more modern games, like the Xbox and the
Oh yeah.
PS1. But yeah, I mainly got it for Game Boy games that I
Yeah.
didn't get to play. I'm looking forward to playing, like, Final Fantasy, Castlevania. Like, I want to
Yes.
go and, yeah,
Yep.
get those.
100%. Same. Same. A lot of those. Yeah. Super Nintendo. Yeah. Game Boy Advance. Mostly those two in particular. But like there's so many like different ways you can make these your own and make them like if that's all you want to play, like it's still good value for money, right?
Yeah,
Like that's
100%.
what makes
Well,
it so good.
you think back in the day, I mean, I'm trying to think of the first console that I bought with my own money. I think it was probably the Game Boy Micro. I want to
Cool. Yeah, I
say.
never had one of those. They looked cool. Tiny.
I'm kicking myself that I got rid of it.
Yeah, I
I've
bet.
had two in my life, and I've gotten rid of
Oh
both of
wow.
them. But they were so fun.
Yeah.
And they don't have an emulator or like a hardware that looks like it that I've found so
I
far.
can recommend you a couple.
Okay, cool. We'll
Yeah,
talk
they
after.
exist. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone they've
And you
all
also
thought
do the
of
tech side for me. It's very
of
bad.
course. You know I will. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's so much. And like I mean once you start getting down the rabbit hole of like running, custom shaders and overlays and stuff to make your games look like they were or are being played on original hardware, like that's one of the advantages of emulation, really. And like the reason I was always kind of averse to emulation in general for so long was because whenever I tried a particular emulator for, let's say, a Super Nintendo, it didn't look the way I remember.
Yeah, right.
Obviously you're playing on like a CRT TV back in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
And there's all of that as well, right? But now with all these different, like just having CRT scan lines, that kind of thing, right? But even for the original Game Boy, right? Because it didn't have a backlight, right? Which is bizarre now when you go back and you look at a Game Boy and you're just like,
I
how did we
remember
even?
like 4 a.m. trips to Harvey Bay and like trying to catch
Yes,
the light, like
any light you can
any
find.
street light. You're like, what am I doing? I can't see shit.
Yeah, just gonna stay here for a minute. Yeah, it was crazy, right? And so now obviously when you play an emulated like Game Boy game, it's gonna look different inherently because it's just it is.
You're on better graphics. And
You're on a screen that actually works.
no wonder all of our eyes are shit.
Yeah, yeah, right. Because we grew up with a freaking Game Boy. But like when you start to look at like overlays and shaders and stuff to make it look like and feel like you remember, that nostalgia factor just goes through the roof. And that's where I've been. That's why I've been like spending so long on this stuff.
I was just like, take us through the project. What is the project? How did it come about? You sort of touched upon it. The project.
The
one
project.
Of them. We're talking about another one of your projects.
I have a lot of projects.
You have so many projects, dude.
I just do projects. I never finish anything. Just ongoing projects for my whole life. So essentially, right, so there's custom firmware for each of these. Some of them more than others. So like I said, the Miu Mini Plus and the Miu Mini. Onion OS is probably the best one. There's guides. We'll put some stuff in the show notes for anyone who has a tiny bit of interest in any of this. I know I've had a few friends like hit me up after we talked about it initially, and they're like, "Oh, what do I need to do to get this working? Like, this sounds interesting." So I know people are sort of starting to think this way.
I see a Discord club coming our way.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
The custom firmware scene is massive, but it's only for certain handhelds. So I don't think it's like for everything. Like I said, the Miu Mini Plus doesn't really have. It does have a couple, but they're not really finished. They're not really super robust custom firmware. But essentially, when you buy one of these, it has certain firmware out of the box. It's never really great, just enough to kind of get you by. Some come with games, some don't. We won't get into that because there's legalities there, but you need to find your own games, of course, source them yourself for certain ones. But basically, some of these custom firmwares allow you to have these games just look and feel the way you remember. So I'm running two. One is Onion OS, like I mentioned, which is the best one and has the most features, things just to make it's just like quality of life improvements, basically, just niceties. And then I'm running another one called Mustard OS or Moo OS on the Ambinic. That's good as well. And like I said, I've actually there's a little application called Sync Thing that gets you to be able to sync all of these together. So all of your save states, you can just pick up and play from each device. So when you start going down that kind of stuff, just because you can really customize it to what you're looking for me, what was important was Super Nintendo and Game Boy Advance. So I've really spent some time making sure the overlays look like a Super Nintendo game. So when you start getting into like integer scaling versus just blowing it up to make it bigger, but then the pixels look off. Yeah, so you can go down these rabbit holes. I'm not going to talk about all of that today, but like that's where I've been. And I don't want to spend because you can go down the rabbit hole of like, okay, now I'm spending more time fucking around with this stuff than I am actually playing. Yeah. And I don't want to do that. And I'm very conscious of that, but I have set them up enough for me to now enjoy the games and play them. Like I've been playing Earthbound that way. So it kind of looks to me like a little CRT screen inside my Game Boy now. And I can play it that way, So yeah, that's really what I've been doing. The Vita is a little bit different because of course, when you mod a Vita, you'll kind of, you're basically like jailbreaking it, to run custom firmware on it, to be able to run other applications and things as well, to be able to play games not on the cartridge, that kind of thing. So that's a little different, but that's also like if you have one lying around, that's a great way to do it because it's actually a great experience as well. So you don't have to go out and buy, original hardware or anything. But yeah, there's a lot you can do. I think that's where I'm going to stop, though, and both in talking, but also in terms of buying certain devices. I think I found what I need to serve a purpose. Again, like the reason was having one that I can carry with me, that I don't have to worry too much about because they're pretty replaceable. And yeah, I've kind of met that goal. Now I get to enjoy and just play games because my backlog is huge.
We'll look forward to our retirement, except we're going to have to work for fucking ever because the age keeps getting...
Oh, dude.
Yeah, cool. I mean, it's... I think we spoke about it for 3 seconds before I'd bought one.
Yeah, you surprised me.
It wasn't very... Well, I've been toying with it for forever, and I've been reading terrible reviews on certain ones, and I was like, for me, and I know my limitations... Like, I'm not going to be that guy that does all of that and is happy with all of that. I will just throw it out the window. So to have something that, for the plebs that you can just pick up and play, that was pretty good. And I think I would like a slightly bigger one for my hand span. Yeah. But I think that what was it, the Arbonic, whatever the blue
Yeah,
one
the
was.
Ambient. This one's like pretty
Yeah.
comfortable, and also the screen's
Yeah.
like a 4-inch screen, so it's slightly bigger screen as well.
So that looks like the perfect size. So now that I've like played with this one, I've had a good time with this one. I'm like, okay, I can pick up another one and download Mustard OS, whatever you said before.
Yeah.
Something that I want to touch upon before we sort of like get to the end of the video is I read an article saying that the retro gaming phase is not just for millennials, and I think we touched upon this earlier about why people are attracted to retro gaming. And some of the, like, it goes into a few different things, but one of the things that I took from this, and it was on The Guardian, I will have the article in the show notes down below, was that, again, because that fast-paced lifestyle that our Gen Zers are having, and I guess Gen Alphas are going to be coming up into this sort of thing as well, is that they're quite comforted by simplicity. And a lot of those games, or at least the ones that I remember, had like simple premises or simple storylines or simple, like you said, mechanics that they were using, but they did them well. And I think that's an art form, is to take something very simply and do it to the highest quality, to give someone, because they were quite limited, really. You look at these devices and you're like, you are limited with how much you can do. There's, I mean, even these, they've got 4 triggers on the back, whereas I think the Game Boy had 2.
Yeah.
And most of your controllers now have a similar, like even in your modern games, have a similar setup with a couple of triggers on the back. There's not that much you can do for things like combat, or like, I mean, if you do turn-based combat, then usually just pressing a couple of buttons and it's more strategy. But the simplicity of being able to use a device like this and go, I can only do 4 things, and that's very comforting. And like music, I think, look, I will say modern gaming has some incredible scores.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
you couldn't do that with these devices. Like, you couldn't do that with these gaming. So you'd have very nostalgic, very repetitive music that was quite comforting, and that was what the draw was. I just thought it was interesting because I thought it was just the millennials without kids, or millennials that had now got older kids who are like, I want to go and relive my youth, but it's not.
Absolutely. I think it all comes down to, I think, like you said, the simplicity, right? And I definitely, like, that is probably the biggest draw for me. Going back and playing the older games in my backlog, I'm always prioritizing those games mostly, or if not all the time, because of the simplicity. Playing some of the retro RPGs, like the stories are still great, like the games are still great. They just and like I said, I won't say easier, because the games often can be quite
They're more
challenging.
creative, right? They have to be quite creative
Exactly.
with how difficult.
That's it. It's that creativity 101 thing where when you have less, you have to make more of it, right? So you do have to be more creative to overcome any limitations that you have on a hardware or software level. And I'm kind of getting a little bit, what's the word? I guess fatigued would be the best way to put it, of a lot of these newer games that just have like all of these complex systems piled on. For what? Like, I don't really even understand for what. Like, especially, I know Ubisoft is, I always pick on them, but they make a lot of these games where they're just, it feels like a second job. When I was playing Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I literally felt like I was working a second job because it was like task after task and I wasn't having fun. And that's why I don't play a lot of open world games anymore since that, really, because I'm fatigued by it. So I think having the side scrollers, the little... pixel art games, there's something to those. Something I actually discovered recently, I didn't know this was a thing. There are actually game developers making games for Game Boy still, and other consoles, that that's people cool. can then play on these consoles, right? These handheld consoles. So there are new Game Boy games being developed, and some of them are fantastic. I haven't played them personally, but I would love to. So I think that's cool.
Maybe we could do that. When I pick one up that I can actually mod a little bit. And by me, I mean you and Rachel.
I don't know.
I'll try it, but I'll break it.
No, it's super easy. Super simple.
So, ending with speculation, because I always love these topics and we get to like the end and we're like, all right, where do we think it's going? So do you think retro gaming is a phase?
Nah, I think because it's always been around, right? Like, I mean, obviously, like we said at the beginning, what we consider retro is obviously shifting. And, back in the early days, that wasn't a thing. So it's now, there's more games that are considered retro games. But I think it's something that's obviously here to stay for both like original hardware, collectors, people that are, still buying original Super Nintendo, Game Boy hardware and playing those games. But also for emulation in particular, because, like we were talking about, it's so cheap now to get into it and start playing. So I think for all of those reasons, it's, something that will be around for a good long time, I hope anyway, because it's great. What do you think?
I disagree. Just to play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Well, look, I think to an extent it is a phase because of the rise of things like TikTok and Instagram advertising. I think it's having a resurgence.
That's fair.
Partly because social media has taken it under its wing. And I think that the next big thing will come and it won't be as popular. I'm not saying it'll go away. I just don't think it'll be as popular as it has been. So a lot of these companies that are pushing out these consoles, we'll see them go under. That being said, you're right. I don't think it's going to go away completely, but I don't think it's going to be a fad because there are companies like Nintendo who are very good at marketing old games. Like they have, I'm sure their teams and their developers are like, all right, what is our target market? What was our target market X amount of years ago? And how do we pull them into the nostalgia to buy consoles for their kids or the next generation or buy the new consoles for themselves? They have that down to an art form.
They do. I'm also sick of paying for it though. Like I'm kind of done.
We'll get into a DLC conversation at some point.
Dude, I just like I love Nintendo. I do. They do a lot right, but like I don't know. I'm sick of paying money for games that I've already bought years ago. You know what I mean? Like you reach
I guess the point is that you're doing it.
Well, so interestingly, I didn't pay for, I wasn't using Nintendo Switch Online for, I don't know, maybe the last 5 years until Switch 2. And I paid for it just because out of curiosity and so we could talk about it and so I could talk about it with friends. But I kind of refused. I was just like, I'm not paying money again for games that I already own in my collection, like the physical cartridges of. So I think you're right. Like I think that in terms of like for it being a fad, for it being popular because of social platforms, that's one thing. But I think like even before that was a thing, there was already this community, right? Like that never really went away, and I don't think it ever will go away. And there is a thriving community around retro gaming, just in general. They're just away from the social platforms. It's like message boards are still a thing, and there's communities there, Discord. So yeah, I think I agree with you on the social part, but I also think it's like, I don't know, it's I wouldn't call it an underground community. It's too popular for that, but I think it's, it will always be there.
Yeah, they'll be there in Discord servers, talking about it, and Reddit threads. If that's, I mean, I can't believe Reddit's still a thing.
Yeah.
I was never a Redditor. I think it was a bit before my time.
I used to use dig.com before that went under.
Nice. Anyway, now that we've told everyone how old we are, and we're just gonna be giant children forever. Like that's fine. I think we're done. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch upon?
No, I want to go play games.
Like I'm sorry. Well, I want to go and get a basketball, but after that, maybe play Grimshire again because I can't get it out of my head.
You're playing that
stay tuned for the next month when we do an episode, and I'm still playing this fucking game. Anyway. To watch the video of the podcast, you can head on over to Genre Blender Podcast on YouTube. It is also on video on Spotify if that's where you choose to view it. Audio-only versions are available on Apple Podcast and Spotify in whichever app you choose to go to, and you'll find all of our show notes down the bottom below in the description box. You can follow us over at Genre Blender Podcast on Instagram. We are also on Blue Sky, if that is somewhere that you like to get updates to go in there as well, or you can visit our website, which is genreblender.net, for all our social media links across the web.
And to all the world hoppers out there, we wish you safe travels as always, and we will catch you in the next episode, which will be a little different, and it will be in a month's time. But do keep an eye out for all of the videos coming down the pipeline. So again, just to mention it, so if you're an audio listener, check out our YouTube channel because there will be some extra videos on there that won't be in the podcast, particular podcast apps. So check those out. They will be topic based, and we're kind of looking forward to creating those and having some fun. But until then, we'll see you next time, and take care, everyone.
Yeah.
Catch you later.
Bye.